like to welcome everyone for joining the show today. We're going to talk about some of the new and exciting features that we plan on delivering with the next release of Prodigio, which is scheduled to come out sometime by the end of November. We've been very busy here on the development team, and we've been adding a lot of server-side, client-side features into the system. And I'm going to talk about primarily the new scanning system that we had built. And I want to make sure everybody's got video, right? Does everyone have video? If you don't, try to come out of the chat and come back in. Okay, sounds good and video's good, right guys? All right, very good. We're going to talk about the scanning system that we're developing. We're going to talk about the new improved features in with respect to the quotes displays. So that you finally have a almost like this debugging environment so that you can see the study values and can export the study values that are coming out of the system. And we're going to talk about a couple other features that we've been working on, primarily some time and sales and level 2 displays. So you'll be able to incorporate that into your trading and automation trading. And also some heat maps that we're working on, which kind of go beyond some of the things that you see with these general standard heat maps that kind of everybody has. So first and foremost, thanks for joining me today for today's chat. I am the Chief Architect of Prodigio. My name is Brian Wagner. And Prodigio is the automated trading platform offered exclusively by Thinkorswim and TD Ameritrade. Prodigio requires activation. And to get Prodigio activation, send in your username and your account number to support@thinkorswim.com with the subject line Prodigio activation. They will activate your trading platform, and you'll get an icon under the Tools tab in Thinkorswim, and you press that icon and it'll launch Prodigio. And what Prodigio does is it allows you to create automated trading strategies or semi-automated trading strategies using an array of tools, and this suite of tools has a lot of different components, and that's why this release is so important, because we're adding to those components, specifically to Trade Vision, to the Quotes tab, and to some brand new tabs. But very specifically, one of the most important features is Wizard Lab, which is a complete, no programming, no scripting required drag and drop environment that allows you to create automated strategies for trading. Prodigio is fully integrated with the Thinkorswim trading platform, so your Thinkorswim account is linked one-to-one in with the Prodigio system. All trades that happen on Prodigio and in Thinkorswim are fully linked into the same account. And so with that said, follow us on Twitter, twitter.com/wizardlab, and join us on the web at www.prodigiorts.net. So getting right into it, I want to talk about the philosophy of what we've been doing. Now, Prodigio has always been focused on trading automation. And last week's chat we kind of covered how you can deploy these RTS strategies, how when they're scanning against your account you can set risk settings, and how the portfolio allows you to kind of manage positions. And I have some scans running right now, but let me try to just get into a position at market on this paper trading account. And so Prodigio is a set of tools that gives you these kind of macro functions and these high frequency trading functions. See here, I just got an array of trades, and that's the power of the system right there. I have a couple of loose strategies based on some exponential moving average crossovers. When it identified the crossovers, all these trades filled up on my account, and according to my account settings, it allocated buying power. You can see I have this RTS 15 buying power strategy. It takes my buying power and divides it into chunks of 15, and it auto manages the trading. And you can do a wide array of functions with this. If I want to close these positions in my portfolio, I can close these all in one shot. I can exit all, I can manage, I can set targets and stops for positions, etc. And the whole system is designed along the lines of empowering you to manage lots of trading simultaneously and to incorporate the concepts of technical analysis and robotic trading. So to that end, we've been focusing on a lot of brand new features. And these features focus on scanning, visualization, and information flow. Now, a lot of people who do even fundamental-based trading. Oh, and by the way, we have a huge fundamentals feature in this build. We have the broad spectrum of all the fundamental data which you are now able to incorporate into Wizard Lab rules, and you are also able to use the same fundamental data in the quotes and in the scanning systems. So you can look forward to a brand new spectrum of fundamental data that you can incorporate into your automated and semi-automated decision making. But as many of you know, a large part of our job as traders is to perform this kind of scan and analysis on the market. To this end, we have some kind of fundamental scans that you can perform using Prodigio in the current build. When I go to this Trade Vision tab, the whole concept of Trade Vision is to visualize things that are happening in the market. So for example, this is a very standard advancers decliners view that shows up at the top. This obviously has some intelligence which picks my top 20 advancers, my top 20 decliners, according to a couple of thresholds such as volume requirements, price requirements, etc. We do things like try to filter out pink sheet stocks, etc. Well, what this build does is it puts control in your hands. You are able to build and define scans based on thresholds and technical analysis, fundamental analysis, price levels, etc. And we've done it in a way that builds on the Wizard Lab system. So you'll be able to use this scanning screening functionality and tie it in with your automated trading. And I'm going to talk about how that system works today. But the idea behind Trade Vision, pivots is a very important part. This is another visualization that we create in order to gauge some important key indices and other ETFs and some futures in order to present a visual matrix so that you can tell where certain points of support and resistance have been breached throughout the day. And this is a whole chat topic in itself, the key pivots, but pivots themselves are based on levels of support and resistance, etc. Of course, my pivots is another example where you can just edit the symbols that you want to see reaching their pivots, and you can change the different pivot algorithm. There's 3 independent algorithms to calculate 3 different types of pivots. And if I click the load, see our focus on trading automation is to hot link everything. So for example, when I clicked on Apple, it brought me up the chart, it showed all my support and resistance levels, and it auto-populated my order management system. That's the whole concept behind Trade Vision. And what we've done in this build is we've created a complete environment, a no scripting required environment, which has 0 learning curve. It's really a system of checking on and off of the various features, and it allows you to perform scans on the broad market of symbols. And this broad market is all of the major exchanges on the the North American exchanges, and you can scan the entire universe of stocks using this tiered system that we developed. And I want to talk about that system for a little bit. We created this system which it works in kind of tiers. And so the reason why we can do all this amount of processing is because we kind of divide and conquer this problem. So here's the problem, right? You have a wide array of things that you want to scan. And you want to scan these for lots and lots and lots and lots of different conditions. Right now, we have over 2,000 customizable scanning components. We expect to have many more. But you can imagine all the things that you can do with 2,000 individual options. We're only continuing to build on top of that. It scans the entire range of the North American indices, over 50,000 securities. That includes, including the pink sheets and the OTCs, etc. And the kinds of things that are built into the system are, first and foremost, there's kind of the simple scanning components that you get. You can kind of see these everywhere. Scans based on price, based on volume, etc. That's a given, right? There's over 300 different price events, and these price events, they kind of overlap with some of the technical analysis that we do, right? So for example, one of the examples that I love is the Fibonacci retracements, right? So what's a Fibonacci retracement? Well, a Fibonacci retracement, it's when you have the range of price on a day. Now, I'm not a fib master here, so I'm going to try to kind of work through this, right? But let's simplify this view. The Fibonacci retracements, and I'm not a master at this, so let's try to do this. Let's try to draw Fibonacci retracements from a high to a low point, right? And you see what that does is it shows you if this high right here is 100%, there's retracements, meaning it comes away in price between this range, and this is my range from 0 to 100%. It breaks this range down in terms of Fibonacci levels, right? Now Fibonacci levels, and here's a technical analysis takeaway that you can take away from this chat as well. Fibonacci levels are based on a pattern that happens in nature. This is a really interesting topic in and of itself, and you can have whole seminars just based on Fibonacci levels. But Fibonacci is a sequence. It's just a sequence, and all it is it's like if you start with 0 and 1, you add the last two numbers together to get the next number, right? So in the Fibonacci sequence, you take 0 and 1. 0 plus 1 is 1, so the next number is 1. Right? Then the last two numbers were 1 and 1, so the next number is 2. The last two numbers were 1 and 2, the next number is 3. And then the next number is 5 because it's 2 plus 3. And then the next number is 8. And it continues that way in a sequence. This is something which is a natural phenomenon. And if you look at, say, like these conch shells, that's one of the classic examples, or a snail shell. The way a snail builds its shell is actually using a Fibonacci sequence. The way that certain plants grow is according to Fibonacci. It's something that's just a naturally occurring phenomenon. And it naturally occurs as a phenomenon in the markets. It has something to do with the way that we perceive things. It's another one of these heuristic measurements where you can say, okay, something looks good or something doesn't look good. Our brains are kind of hardwired by nature to like certain values. And if you kind of look at these levels, they kind of make sense. If something comes back at this first retracement, 76.40%, that's a significant level to have retraced by. And that shows up in the price data, even on Apple, which I randomly picked. I didn't set this up. I just kind of randomly chose this. But watch what happens. I drew this Fibonacci level from this high point to the low point. And look what happens. See this period of consolidation. 1, 2, 3. General trading occurs between these two fib levels. And that's not by accident. This just kind of happens naturally. And I mean, you should not rely on this as a given. It doesn't predict the future, but it's something that just kind of naturally happens with things. You can use this for your scanning conditions, and you can see pattern setups. And I look at this fib level right here, and I see today's trading on Apple. That's at this lower fib level right down here at 23.6%. That might tell me something quite significant about the activity. It might say that I might want to expect a gain of at most back up to the next fib level. And if I make a gain, if I went long on this Apple, if I made a gain at that fib level, I probably want to take a profit, because the laws of nature are defying me at that point to have a huge reversal unless there's enough momentum in the market, etc. These kinds of things you can incorporate into your trading. And that's what this scanning system allows you to do. It simplifies the process of finding these setups and presenting it to you in a tabular display, which is it's a little bit different than trade optics. And I'm going to explain the difference. But these kinds of things, and I call this a price event, it's also / a technical analysis event. It's combining the two together, and everything comes pre-built out of box with a series of check boxes, some customizable parameters. We have a lot of sliders that you can kind of set things if you want to change ranges for things, etc. And that's how this scanning system is built in a way that makes it very easy to find all of these things. And you can just toggle things on and off. As we get closer to the release, we'll be able to show you this in action. But that's what the system is capable of doing. Now, technical analysis studies. We have listed here that we have over 34 out-of-the-box technical analysis studies. What that means is we have 34 of the most kind of popular technical analysis studies that you would want to scan for in a system. For example, you want to perform broad market scans, kind of like a large filter. And if you listen to some of my prior chats about Wizard Lab, I talk about creating strategies as a series of filters and triggers. And I still to this day believe that's very important, because I believe that making successful trades and finding successful opportunities in the market involves narrowing down your universe, targeting an opportunity, and executing on that opportunity. I believe that no matter what your parameters are for a system, that is a very sound way of going about creating a trading system or strategy. So the way you think of this scanning system is it's a series of filters. You're kind of whittling down the broad market. I mean, none of us can study the fundamentals of all 50,000 companies. If you do a real, like if you are doing real research at a real firm, and let's say you're managing a hedge fund, and you're doing real statistical, financial, fundamental analysis, I don't really know how long this takes, but I would imagine that you would spend at least a day investigating one company thoroughly. Now, you might do this in tiers. Obviously, I could see someone taking 100 companies and kind of, weighting things and filtering them out. But again, what they're doing is a manual process of saying, okay, out of these 100, I like these 40. So I'm going to consider these 40 for further investigation. That's the same procedure that we're doing here. And to individually study 50,000 securities, it might take you 50,000 days if you want to do all of that fundamental analysis. So you've got to have a smarter plan of attack. The scanning system builds and leverages on top of the Wizard Lab study engine processors. It presents to you customizable trade visions, and like I said, we have over 300 price events, 34 out-of-box technical analysis studies, which gets back to my point. We have all the ones that you would want to use as filters. So for example, when you want to see things that are within ranges of Bollinger Bands, within ranges of RSIs, moving averages, CCIs, etc., all of these things are available in the scanning system, which allows you to narrow down on your securities, which you can then go on to capture and trade using Wizard Lab, which gives you even more finite and fine-grained control over the trading automation. We have over 87 scanning candlestick patterns, right? And these candlestick patterns, they're both the single patterns and the multi-patterns. This sums up to the number that we have is 221 unique scanning elements. And what that means is, let's suppose I want to look for, most of these are the Japanese candlestick patterns. I want to show me the set of all, hammers, but they also have to be inside bars, right? So I want to see inside bars with hammers, etc. You can combine these things into the scan, right? And then use the scanning system to present to you. And this is really, the output is presented in a tabular format. It's going to be a little bit prettied up. This is a very basic view. This is kind of like the trade vision taken to the next 2 levels or beyond. Everything is presented as a categorized list, and these tables, this is built into the tables themselves. Be aware of this if you're not aware of this, because this is very important. You can filter, you can scan these. See what I'm doing? I'm clicking on the table headers, and I'm sorting these, going up and going down. Right? If I want them sorted alphabetically, right, there's an up arrow, and this says, okay, it's sorting alphabetically from A to Z. And I could click it again, and this goes from backwards, Z to A. I click it one more time, and it's gone. If you hold Control down, you can sort by more than one column. Right? And that becomes important. Okay, let's say I want to sort by percent move and volume. Right? So if I keep clicking, they'll eventually go away. Sort by percent move and volume. Well, for this table, it doesn't make any difference. But what that does is if you have kind of matches, right? Let's say you have 2% moves which are identical, you could then sort within those moves. And that often is important for some of the columns, especially when they're expanded out according to the new features that we're going to talk about. I'm going to talk about the new quote features very shortly. But other things that you can scan for, right? I want to wrap up. We have over 700 fundamental scan elements, and that's in this build. We had a lot of discussion behind the scenes actually about what we will be able to deliver. What we are delivering in this next build are the current fundamentals, right? So it's the whole entire universe of the current fundamentals for the current time as of right now. What do I mean by that? I mean, what's the market cap of the stock? What are the shares outstanding? What's the earnings per share? What's the dividend yield? You know, for example, I could scan as one of my criterion stocks that have a favorable dividend yield, or I could discard that, etc. These alone comprise over 700 features for fundamental scanning elements. That said, extending beyond that, we actually have coming very soon, and we don't know if it's going to come out in this build, but you can expect it very shortly thereafter. We have a historical database of fundamentals. So in other words, you'll be able to perform historical lookup and historical scanning and historical technical analysis on the fundamental history. And that's important for if you want to do things such as, you know, create a moving average of market cap. You know, and you want to compare the price oscillation of a market capitalization versus its moving average. These things are really cool, and you know, that's why we're getting so excited about this build. And finally, all of these scans are directly wired into the trading. So everything is already linked into the charting and into the you know, the order entry, etc. And when you get these scan conditions, you will have a dynamically changing, updating in real-time table, right? Because of the way that we've done this, this will update in real time, you know, at the frequency of our scanning, and this table will continue to change during the day. This is significant, and this is where a lot of our work went, because a lot of the things that you see out on the market are either end-of-day scans or it's scan once and done. You know, well, our goal is to go beyond that. This is a dynamically updating, just like this table right here. You can see that, you know, as the quotes come in, it sorts it, you know, by the percent movement. You know, and that's coupled with the scanning functions, and this is a dynamically updating list. So based on your criterion, you can change these things, and this all happens in real time. But everything is integrated in with the chart and with the order entry, and so you will be able to react quickly to the changes in market and trade and have everything set up to go in order to kind of pull that trigger as quickly as possible with the minimal amount of human interaction. And again, if you listen to the chat from last week, I discussed this in length about how minimizing the amount of work that you have to do to trade allows you to react more quickly, and it maximizes your profitability potential. Right? So that, in a nutshell, is a synopsis of the trade vision improvements that we're working on. To give you an idea for how the user interface will look, it'll be, in general, it'll be kind of in this flavor. right? You have a table. I say flavor very loosely because it really this presentation really doesn't do justice to what we're working on. The results are presented to you in a tabular format, which is hot linked into the other features of the system. And there's a large edit environment which allows you to set up your scans. And these scans, you can set up your scan. They're saved, on your machine using, client-side settings. So you can set your scan up and you can shut your system down. You can bring it back up. You don't have to worry about trying to remember everything that you had done in the prior session. You can just bring it back. There are a few instances of this trade vision, so we actually have more than one because of the way that we do this. We have more than one trade vision tab, so you can have multiple scans running. And you could always go here into layout, right? Select layout, go into advanced layout. I can always undock this. Now here I'm right clicking and I'm saying floating. That put this on my other monitor over here. You can set up your multi-monitor setout and put these scans on other monitors. So if you have, some of you guys have such enviable trading setups. I don't know how you can possibly wire that many monitors into a computer. I'm very jealous. I have on my workstation I have 3 monitors, right? And I think that I'm big time, right? And I see some of you guys with your 5 and 6 and 10 monitor setups, and it's really impressive. So in order to take advantage of that, we made sure that you can dock these out and put these on different monitors. But we have more than one trade vision, so you can have more than one running of these at the same time. But the user interface, it's a combination of well, to be honest with you, it's motivated by a couple design decisions in Wizard Lab. You see how when there's kind of self-documentation built into the system, where as I roll over the different things, it kind of tells you what that study is doing, and it gives you a description, etc. We kind of took the same concept and we built it into the scanning system. So we have all these options. Like I mentioned, when you add everything up and when you add all the individual settings that you can do, there's over 2,000 different components here. So that's a lot of information to consume. Well, luckily the way we have this mapped out is you roll over one of these options and the description is presented right inside a panel, which tentatively as of right now it's kind of in the same spot. It'll be in this upper left-hand corner. That's where that's at right now. We have everything broken down according to category, right? So for example, we have the price events separate from the technical analysis, from the candlestick patterns. Everything comes together in the same system under the same scan, but everything is kind of laid out in a way that's intuitive, and you really don't even need to have a learning curve for this. You just go to what you want and you check it off. Everything is there was another point I wanted to make about it's all running under the same scan. That's right. When you check everything off, you get a results number. It immediately tells you how many symbols satisfy your scanning criteria. So you can kind of check and uncheck, and you kind of get a feel for the way that things are adding or removing as you check and uncheck off these different scanning criterion. So a lot more to be said about that in the upcoming weeks, but that's the scanning environment, and we really expect this to kind of be one of the leading tools out there in the context of what you can do in a dynamic fashion. All right, so that's really excited about that. I also want to talk about some of the other improvements that we're making as well. I mentioned that these results will be presented to you in a tabular format. Right, so that's different than trade optics. Trade optics is a signal system. Right, so the way trade optics works, and I've got a couple strategies that I built a while ago. They do different things. A lot of them are very short-term based, just so that it shows the system scanning on the server and working, etc. But trade optics, it's a signal queue. And what that means is Wizard Lab, it's like your scripting environment without the scripting. And especially everybody who's been with us for a while, you kind of have a feel for how this works. You open up a rule, and that rule It's just drag and drop. It defines the logic, and you can change things. Like if I want to reverse the order of this cross, I just do that, and it changes. I don't have to program anything, which is it's pretty nice. These rules, they give kind of a directive to the system to tell it what to do. And that's why we have the strategy builder, because those directives, we combine those into a strategy. And the strategy says what we should do with those signals. So the strategy says, well, if you get this ADX signal, buy it at market. And you can specify everything that you want to do here, and you can set offsets, etc., whatever. We talk about that in detail in the other chats. But the main idea behind Wizard Lab and the capability that Wizard Lab is able to do is that it creates signals. Trade Optics harvests those signals. And when you deploy a strategy into Trade Optics, when it finds an entry condition, instead of automatically trading, it issues the signal into your trade scan alert. So that signal, if you deploy the strategy into RTS strategies, by simply checking off the strategy and selecting your symbol list, that's going to robotically trade the strategy according to the risk parameters. But Trade Optics allows you to elect the trading. So in other words, instead of robotically trading, it sends the signal into the queue, and then you can kind of load it in. And this will load into both the order management and the charts, and you can study this. Maybe you want to put your fib retracements on here like I did for the other chart. And you want to perform some kind of analysis and say, okay, from a relative high to a relative low, what are my fib retracements? And you zoom in, you make a decision. You say, okay, well, this EMA cross says to buy here, and you're thinking, well, it's at a fib retracement. Maybe this has a fair shot of getting to the next retracement, etc. That's the power of Trade Optics. All these scans come in to the queue. And that's how it's different from the scanning. See, I just got a new batch of signals for the next minute. These signals all came into the queue. And so I can see this batch, and it's perpetually scrolling downwards, and I can evaluate each one of these signals. The trade vision is constantly scanning. It's constantly updating your symbol list. So in other words, it's not a queue. The signals don't come in from top to the bottom. It continues to update it. Right? And so the table is very important. It's also very important to be able to kind of see the nuts and bolts of what's going on. You want to be able to see what the moving averages are, etc. You want to be able to customize the table according to what the system is scanning for, and more importantly, one of the features that a lot of you have been asking for a very long time, what the Wizard Lab study engine is able to do. So another big build is we have enhanced the customizability of this table so that you can right-click, customize the table, and not only can you put all of the fundamental and technical analysis information into the table, but you're actually able to wire in Wizard Lab rules into the table as well. And what it will do is it will begin collecting the signals, and it presents the signals using kind of a visual component, which it's in the flavor of this tick change, but it's a lot prettier. It's a lot prettier. That's what we're working on for the quote enhancement. And I mean, this is built into all the tables, so it's not just your trade vision results, it's also in your quotes panel. I look at this quotes panel, and right now it's very busy. Right, I've got a lot of information going on, so I want to customize this, and maybe I don't want to see the low, maybe I don't want to see the high or the previous close or whatever. You can tweak this table, and I can customize it. And there's actually an option here for more. If I click more, it's going to give me a dialog, right? And that it's kind of the same thing as the other checkboxes, but I can toggle this and change things to exactly how I want to see them. And I probably want to see volume because that's important. But we have enhanced the customizability of the tables related to the quotes and the trade vision scanning, so that you can wire in the Wizard Lab rules, and they will show you the signals presented in this kind of column format. And you see these tick changes. I'm looking at Apple here, right? And as this changes, I see I got an uptick, downtick, This is coming right to left, up tick, down tick. Those kinds of signals are presented to you so that you can see the things as they come in, and you can kind of customize the rules for the colors. So if I want to see when the RSI crosses above 30, I want to see a green signal. That's going to show me a green signal. If I want to see when RSI crosses below 30, it's going to give me a red signal. You can define and specify these things to customize your tables, tying it into the Wizard Lab system and the scanning system. So that's something which I guess I'll wrap up talking about that because we really want to get you guys a visual on this, but it's really cool. That's what we're working on right now for that. So that ties in the quotes panels with the scanning systems. We have also done extensive work with our data management and our data feeds, extensive work. What we are now able to provide to you, in addition to enhanced instrument sets, one of the things that we have now is we have the Forex data. We didn't have the Forex data before. We have the Forex data now that you can use in Prodigio and Wizard Lab. We have time and sales and level 2 views. So this is a kind of a nice little feature that we're adding in with this build. We have access to the time and sales feeds, to the level 2 feeds, and we've designed the infrastructure to be able to present this on the client. And so we're creating views which they're very important if you want to really optimize your trading, or you know what a good way to use a level 2 view is? A great way to use level 2, and yes, the system has futures data inside of it. You can do any kind of the Wizard Lab technical analysis and the scanning analysis based on the futures data. One of the things that's really nice to use a level 2 for is if you, let's say you're scanning one of these ETFs, right? So I'm looking at the NASDAQ Power Shares. Right. Let's pull it up on the chart. A lot of people will trade this way, and especially if you have some downtime, right? If you've kind of you've done all of your macro management, right? So I mean, usually, when I talk to traders, I know a lot of people who they have kind of like multiple plays. They obviously they have their long-term investments. They have their swing plays, but then there's times, especially if you do this professionally. There's always a way to kind of do this day trading. A lot of you guys are professional day traders, obviously, but even if you're kind of a swing trader, there's kind of a way to take advantage of day trading where you're not day trading the way a professional day trader is, but you can still day trade. And this is a way I notice a lot of people do it. They will study maybe 10 different securities specifically. And usually the ETFs, because the ETFs have kind of high volume, and a lot of you Forex traders do this as well. You kind of study your Forex pairs intimately. You get a sense for how they move. You get a sense for the market. It's just like anything else. If you're watching online auctions, you get a sense for how the auction plays out. A lot of people will take an ETF such as the Qs and they'll get an idea for its behavior. Now the Qs obviously moves with the market, the broad market. So maybe this isn't the best example. But you know that the Qs it's like a creature of trend. It does not, like the volatility on the Qs is very low. It doesn't go nuts unless you have a really crazy day in the market. And you know that you can rely on swings in momentum on the Qs. So I mean, if I understand with relative confidence that on the 5-minute charts that this is going to be a local peak, I can expect this to continue for the next 20 minutes. Or if I can identify this as a local valley, I can expect that this will go up for the next 20 minutes or so. And I can, trade this in certain confidence that if this trade doesn't work out, I can reverse position, etc. You can use the level 2 views for this type of trading in order to optimize your day trading potential. So in other words, I mean the level 2s, and we plan on expanding on this. So this is kind of phase 1 of the time and sales in the level 2. It gives you the story of what other people are thinking. And that's very important, especially if us on this side, we're developing this automated trading platform. And our goal is to provide as many tools to make trading decisions as painless and as rapid as possible. This level 2 will enhance your intraday trading to the next level. So we're very happy that we're able to finally offer this, and that's something that you can definitely look for in the next build. And the last major feature that I want to talk about and that we really want to advertise today is that we're working on a series of very powerful heat maps. Right now, heat maps, and you notice as I was talking, the robotic trading, it put a position on cues. It said it was the time to buy cues. I don't know what this strategy was doing, but we could take a look at the portfolio. Looks like, yeah, some kind of ADX, right? So it looks like maybe that's a local minima. I don't know, just speculating here. A little distraction. The heat mapping that we're developing for Prodigio, it goes beyond than just this kind of basic ho-hum heat map that you see on all the websites. The things that really make a heat map are that a heat map gives you a table. That's what it does. It presents information that you would see in a spreadsheet, but it does it in a way that's visually consumable. And that's why it kind of fits naturally with all the scanning things that we've been working on. It is a visual presentation of tabular data, the same stuff you'd see in a spreadsheet, but it does it in a way that takes advantage of our ability to scan ratio and proportion. So when you look at a heat map, if you see a large block, that means that block is much more significant than a smaller block. And I apologize if some of you guys have not seen these heat maps before. It's just kind of like a red and green display which presents kind of like a picture of the data so that you can kind of visualize things and you see things moving around. Well, if you see something that's bigger, we recognize something that's bigger as being more significant than something that's smaller. And a heat map does a great job of this, and it uses color to your advantage. So something that's big and bright green, sounds like something that's attractive when you look at a visualization. Something big and green sounds attractive. I look at this big green bar, right, and I say, wow, that's a lot of volume, like something really happened. Even though this is the tail end of this move, maybe the cues are going to keep going up. And it did. Like I could have made a very simple, I'll bet possibly naive assumption that this was a good time to get in on this move, and if I had done that, I would have been right, would have made a nice profit. But the point is that visualization and charts are just another way to visualize all the data and all this information. Charts are a great example of this. Heat maps are just another way to present this type of scanning information. And what we are doing is we are managing the results of tables and the results of scans, which is presented in a way that's driven by the heat maps. So in other words, it allows you to toggle the settings of the heat maps and to customize them. And on our part, that does not require any additional work. Right? So that's the difference. When you see these heat maps all throughout the web, there's a lot of work invested in just creating that very specific heat map for you. A lot of times it's driven based on market cap and sectors of the symbol lists. So that's another thing that we've been working on, market categorization. We have a very broad market categorization, which we're going to be tying into the symbol lists, etc. The heat maps are customizable based on the settings, and so you don't have just one heat map, you have many possibilities for heat maps. And with just some simple changes of settings, it's very easy to create a heat map which shows you, for example, the stocks that are closest to their RSI 70, for example. That's one way to create a heat map to show you, okay, these stocks or these symbols are the prime candidates with respect to their proximity to the RSI. And if you don't understand what that means, no problem. When you see the examples of what we can do with this, it's going to be very enticing. So we're very excited to be able to present this. And with that said, that's a taste of the features that are coming up in this next build of Prodigio. I hope that I've given you all kind of a good understanding of the things that we've been developing. And I hope that you continue to check in with us and keep track of our updates. This release we expect to be somewhere around the end of November. But keep up to date on Twitter. And as soon as we can get this out, it'll be out. And so, again, you can look forward to that release. And today's chat, again, was just talking about a little bit of the things we're working on and how they tie in with maybe some mild strategy. So I'm going to wrap up today's show by saying I hope that answers some questions. I hope you can see where we're going, and I hope you can see the power of the system. I also hope that you join me again next week here. Every Wednesday at 11 o'clock Central, 12 o'clock Eastern, we have these chats, and we'll have one next week. And I believe I'm doing the chat next week as well. But join us on the web, www.prodigiorts.net, and follow us on Twitter, twitter.com/wizardlab. As always, send your questions in. Questions should be sent in to prodigio@thinkorswim.com. And if you have questions specifically related to, say, strategy building, or just very light questions that you want answered immediately, join us here in the chat during the week. We're always available here during the chat. Usually someone's here to answer questions. We try to be here in market hours, but that's the Prodigio chat on the Thinkorswim platform. Join us on the Prodigio forums on the web, prodigiorts.net. And I hope to see everyone again next week. We're going to be very busy here getting ready for the release. And we look forward to continuing to provide the most state-of-the-art trading tools that are available on the market. So thanks for joining me, everyone, and I'll see you all again next week. Great trading, and take care.